G'day guys, happy League Start Day. Before we jump into PoE 3.28 Mirage League, I just wanted to give an update on my Hidden Blade Windburst Autobomber from last league. I'll be covering what changed for our strength stacker, as well as going over a few different options for scaling the build in the future. So if you enjoy this build or would like to see any cool builds in the future, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. I'll try and answer everything I can. Let's get into it by addressing the elephant in the room. The interaction between Hidden Blade and Windburst support has not been mentioned in any of the streams, patch notes or developer manifestos, so it's safe to assume that at least for this coming league, the build should function. Whether they patch it in the future or not, I'm not sure. Whether the interaction is intended or not, again, they haven't stated either way, so we're just going to have to wait and see. We can start by talking about the strength stacker. The main difference between last league and this league is the loss of grafts. This means we no longer have the projectile speed per strength scaling from the corrupted implicit on grafts, which means we have to get our projectile speed scaling from elsewhere. To solve this, we've gone ahead and tattooed every dexterity node that we can on our tree, other than the ones inside inertia circles with projectile speed. We've also changed our pathing slightly. We've got this elusive wheel with the dagger mastery for 50% projectile speed while wielding a dagger. We've also come down here to grab these two projectile wheels, which are very high value, as well as the mastery for more projectile speed. And we've cut out the top left section of our tree because we just didn't have enough points to get it all. Other than that, for the most part, the build is the same. All of our gear is the same. I have upgraded to a Mage Blood in this version from the previous version, which has allowed me to get rid of haste and change our Watcher's Eye to a Chaos Res and Life on Hit Watcher's Eye, because we can now get permanent phasing from a Quartz Flask. But overall the build will be roughly 20, maybe 30% weaker than it was in Keepers of the Flame. Having said that, it is still perfectly viable, it is still very strong, a really fast mapper. And it of course still maintains that Autobomber playstyle that we know and love. However, now that grafts are gone, we can look at other ways of scaling our damage instead of just strength. To start off with, let's look at Ward. So Ward is a defense in PoE 1 that you can scale very hard into with the use of some unique items. The main item is Inda's Strand, which gives you 60% of armor and evasion from equipped body armor as Ward. You combine this with a rare body armor with as much armor and evasion as you can possibly get. You can also stack this with the Faithguard helmet, which converts your increases and reductions to energy shield into ward instead. And then you can make use of all of that with the Night Grip gloves, which gain added chaos damage based on 10% of your ward. With this setup, we have just shy of 16,000 ward, which ends up giving us just shy of 1600 flat chaos damage. When you combine that with our skill effect duration and our projectile speed scaling, this build should perform rather well, albeit slightly weaker than its strength stacking counterpart, with one of the main restrictions being the amount of gear slots you need to sacrifice to make it work, especially the belt slot. You won't be able to work your way up to a Mage Blood or possibly even the new Shrine belt that they're adding this league, so that's one thing just to keep in mind. The next version of the build is going to be an Abyssal stacker, using both the Light Poacher unique helmet and the Shroud of the Lightless unique armor. These two items give you elemental penetration, physical damage as extra elemental damage, and a bit of life and mana per Abyssal affecting you. I haven't messed around with or pobbed this version of the build at all, because this is an existing way of scaling Hidden Blade builds going back several leagues now. So if you want some inspiration, you can check out PoE Ninja and search for Light Poacher and Hidden Blade. Check out some of those builds. Overall, I think this version is going to again be slightly weaker than the strength stacker. However, it is a cool spin on the build. I did put together a frenzy charge stacking version, scaling cold damage per frenzy charge. However, after min-maxing this POB a little bit, I was a little underwhelmed with the damage numbers. It is still a viable build, and I will keep it in here as a honorable mention, but just note that there are more powerful ways of scaling your damage. Last but not least, let's talk about Herald stacking. In this version, we will be stacking as much Herald buff effect as we can, using things like Lone Messenger, the Lycia Bloodline, unique Circle of Ambition rings, tattoos on all of our intelligence nodes, and medium cluster jewels. This league we are going to be able to fraction notables on medium clusters and move them to a different base type, which will allow us to get medium clusters with both Empowered Envoy for Herald buff effect, and Streamlined for projectile speed and projectile damage. And we are likely going to stack at least 4 of these. You also have the option of stacking multiple Heralds, in this example, Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, and Herald of Ash, with the unique ring Lost Unity, which gives you Herald of the Hive skill. Both this version and the single Herald version seem rather strong, both in contention for the top spot against strength stacking. So it'll all come down to what flavour of Windburst you feel like playing. I will leave these POB links below, but just know that these are by no means finished or tested or optimised builds. Treat them more as inspiration than an actual build guide. With that all out of the way, I'm really looking forward to playing this build again this league. For anyone else thinking of giving it a try, I hope you enjoy it. And until next time, peace.